And Professor Onyia, Secretary to the Enugu State Government, joins us live from Enugu to look at the President's visit now. Thank you so much, Prof, for your time on Newsnight. Some have described the President's visit to Enugu to commission project as a significant milestone moment for the state. How do you interpret the importance of this visit for the region?
Mr. President's visit to Enugu, being the first visit in 2025, is really significant in so many ways. From a regional point of view, what this sets out is an acknowledgement that Enugu State, in its approach to infrastructure development, economic growth, is not just looking at it from a state perspective, but the impact is at a regional level in terms of when we look at transportation, which is part of the issues that we had raised, that we needed support from Mr. President as it relates to the rail line. When you look at Dr. Peter Ndubuisimba's model on education, experiential learning, the way it turns around the learning process to build capacity for our young people, which will in turn begin to affect the competitive advantage of our region. And also when you look at some of the key infrastructure that you're looking at in terms of the access corridor for road, our economic corridors, the road network, like the one Mr. President commissioned. So what we are looking at as a region is to begin to build sustainable infrastructure that will begin to catalyze economic growth. And His Excellency was very clear that on inception of office that the whole thinking around building our GDP was to now build and connect the dots on the key aspects across sectors that can help build our economy from 4.4 billion to 30 billion. So there's a regional implication for the President's visit to Enugu State. It cuts across the different economic trajectory His Excellency Dr. Peter Ndubuisimba set out to achieve for Enugu.
I would like you to provide some insight into the specifics project President Tinubu commissioned during his visit, and what does this mean for the government and the people of the state? Yes, of course, you did spoke about the fact that this is significant for the region as well.
Yes. So one of the key things that His Excellency had set out on assumption of office is to change and transform our education system. And how he set out to do this was not just to look at it from the bricks and mortar, but he's gone back to look at the whole process flow of the education, from the curriculum to the structure to the pedagogy to the assessment, and to build the capacity and quality of teachers and administrators. So he set out to do this by first on the curriculum side, changing and transforming what would have been more of a memorization model of learning to an experiential learning model, where the students are able to demonstrate learning, across spaces that normally would not be found in our elementary school system, like our artificial intelligence, virtual reality, mechatronic labs. These are things that he built in, and this is not in the city. What His Excellency did was to start from the rural areas to begin to build smart green schools to give an opportunity to students that normally will not have such experiences when it comes to learning. And in doing that, he also began to change the integration of technology into teaching and learning, both on the teacher's side and also on the student's side. Just not doing that, he also began to look at how do we integrate content in such a way that it means something for our students. And that's why we now integrated technology across the board in everything we're doing. Now, you have to understand that typically in our country, this has not been an aggressive transformational way of intervening in education. It's been knee-jerk all this while, but he's thought it through. So it's a deliberate effort to be able to change the learning process. Now, when you do that, in every ward, the 260 political wards in Enugu, that changes the whole narrative about equal access to quality education. And that's what he did. So what you notice Mr. President do today is symbolic in now commissioning those schools that are ready. All the schools are set based on our process milestone tracking to be delivered, and students start in them in September of 2025. So His Excellency is planning to give every single student, child in Enugu, an opportunity to go to school. This is transformational because he's starting from kindergarten as against what it used to be, and our structures now run from K to 9th grade, GSS 3, which is the whole structure of the universal basic education. So this has changed the model for us in education transformation in Enugu State. So that's one of the projects he set out. Then we also began to look at how do we improve the quality of lives of Ndi Enugu, reduce the costs and the burden on citizens because of bad roads and delays in getting to where they're going and the cost of logistics. So His Excellency set out to build massive road networks across Enugu, roads that normally had not been looked at in the past 30 years. But yet areas where our citizens live and those that you might consider in the lower socioeconomic ladder. He now focused on those areas so they can feel a part of the governance process in the city, in the urban roads. He also did the same thing in the rural roads, looking at the economic corridors and looking at roads that have implications for the nature of the business expectations that he set out in his economic development plan. So these things are all connected, and the way you look at our education, it creates a long-term goal for the capacity of our graduates. 10, 15 years down the line, you can sit back and now begin to track the impact of what Dr. Peter Ndubuisi has started doing today. So there's a long-term tracking of what's going to happen. So this is not something we're looking at just passing summative assessments to be able to track performance. We're looking at it in the long term.
All right. Why?
Yes,
I mean, these developments, of course, it's something commendable, but of course there are concerns about the buy-in of the people. How much support of the people do you have? How is the government balancing infrastructural development goals and the development of the people as well? I'm happy that you talk about putting the people first, but how is that affecting them in terms of their well-being, development, wise?
So human capacity development is something that everybody agrees is important. If we're looking at not just the quality of skilled labor today, if we're looking at just also poverty eradication, what gives you an advantage to be able to be competitive in the workspace is something that everybody, from the public servants to young graduates to people in farming, everybody thinks it's a valuable investment. Now, that's one thing, but more important, His Excellency had set out, even before he came into office, a data management process where he was able to engage with people at the grassroots to be able to identify some of the key things that may be important to them, from agriculture, transformational agriculture process, to education, to the health sector. So people have always been involved, so everything he's doing is being from the grassroots, bottom up. It's not just been something that was hierarchical in the sense that people are just told what to do. That buy-in is what we believe was critical in the messaging His Excellency set out on two key points: ownership and sustainability. When ownership is clearly demonstrated, not just buying, when ownership is clearly demonstrated, you will notice that people will take the extra mile to ensure that these assets, these investments are sustained in the long term. So what we've done is to be able to build in community support in the monitoring process, in engaging the stakeholders at the grassroots to show the value of what it means for our children in the goal to eradicate poverty and what this can bring as a value for them. So they are all involved, the stakeholders are involved, the grassroots, meeting with the regular people in the streets, the people in the rural areas. That's why he started this project in the rural areas and bringing it out to the cities. The buy-in is what's helped them to be able to give us the locations, monitor the people that are involved in this process, get engaged, and in doing that, ensure that the quality of these projects meet international best practice, and the sustainability of it is something that is shared. So it's collective. That's where we have worked really hard to make sure that there's buy-in, and people have seen the value, not just in the short term, but they are looking at Enugu State, their citizens, their children, themselves being competitive in the long term. So the ownership is collective.
All right. We also do know that the president's visit could be seen as a symbolic gesture for a region that often feels politically marginalized. How does the Enugu state government perceive this gesture, and perhaps maybe the neighboring eastern state representatives who were present at the event?
So Dr. Peter Ndubuisi at the very beginning, he set out a very bold economic plan that if you sit down and study it and see the way it's integrative, you will know that the things that he's been able to achieve as a governor in the South does not lean towards symbolism. They're very significant because they are well thought through. So the president's visit for us is not symbolic. It's very important, symbolic in the essence that people were happy that His Excellency is coming as a state visit for the first state he's visiting in the year. So that's symbolic. It's also important that this is the first visit the president is coming to Enugu State since Governor Peter Ndubuisi came into power. So that's symbolic. But we look at this because His Excellency's economic plan as the president aligns clearly with what the governor, Dr. Peter Ndubuisi, is doing for the state, and itself will cascade to the region. So we see alignments, points of alignment, one of it being the very fact that this governor believes in working from bottom up, ensuring that the local government chairman in the projects they are setting out are working with us collaboratively to be able to deliver high impact projects, and they're seeing the value of doing this. Now, when you do this, for instance, in the agricultural sector, we begin to open up opportunities for building agricultural clusters, bringing in private sector to play a major role. And you've seen over the past couple of months some of the contractual agreements we've gone with the private sector who have come in to invest in our state. So that is not tokenistic. That's not just something that His Excellency is doing in a knee-jerk manner, but this is something that is clear that Dr. Peter Ndubuisi's plan looks at a regional growth process that complements the national growth projects that Mr. President is set out. So there's an integration that is quite supportive, and that's why the President said that he is proud of Dr. Peter Ndubuisi and his economic strides in the things that he's doing in Enugu, in infrastructure, in security, in health, in education. These are things that you see that is aligned to the center, and also things that every global government is striving to achieve: poverty eradication, ensuring that at every point in time that the students are able to show best practice in the way they learn and demonstrate learning. But more important is that at the end of the day, His Excellency set out to grow the economy of Enugu from 4.4 billion to 30 billion. This is going to be significant for the national GDP. So there's an alignment, and the president's visit is very important to us in the areas that we are planning to expand our economic capacity. So this is a very important visit for us. And the governor was very clear when he said that during his comments.
A good place to leave your secretary to the Enugu State Government, Professor Onyia. Thank you for coming on Newsnight.